Manchester City have set their sights firmly on Milos Kerkez, signalling what could become a fierce transfer tug-of-war with Liverpool as both Premier League giants prepare to strengthen their left side this summer. With the window approaching, the 20-year-old Hungarian fullback has emerged as one of the most sought-after young defenders in Europe, and City's interest has immediately raised the stakes. Pep Guardiola is no stranger to identifying emerging talents and transforming them into world-class players, and the club's recruitment department sees Kerkez as a perfect long-term fit for City's evolving system. His profile is everything Guardiola admires in a modern fullback: pace, aggression, positional discipline, and the ability to contribute in both defensive and attacking phases. Kerkez has impressed this season with his intensity, fearlessness, and maturity beyond his years, qualities that have caught the attention of multiple top clubs, but it is City who are now pushing to accelerate talks. However, Liverpool aren't prepared to step aside. With their own ambitions under new management and a need to future-proof their defensive line, especially on the left, Kerkez fits the exact mold of the player they're targeting. The Anfield side have quietly tracked his progress, and as they rebuild for a new chapter, they view the Hungarian as someone who could grow into a key figure over the next decade. The club believes his energy and mentality suit their high-pressing style, and his experience in England already gives him an edge. Kerkez's performances have not gone unnoticed by the national team either, where he's become a regular fixture, further boosting his value and exposure. His ability to take on defenders, link up with midfielders, and deliver accurate crosses has made him one of the standout young fullbacks in European football. And crucially, he has shown the temperament to perform under pressure, something that clubs like City and Liverpool demand week in, week out. The player himself has remained quiet, avoiding the headlines and focusing on his football. But those close to the situation suggest that both clubs are already in contact with his representatives, and discussions are intensifying behind the scenes. With City offering a pathway under Guardiola's guidance and the chance to compete for silverware across every competition, their proposal carries immense weight. Yet Liverpool's pitch includes something different: a fresh start, a new structure, and a legacy of trusting and developing young players into elite professionals. Financially, both clubs are prepared to meet the expected fee. What could make the difference now is vision, playing time, and trust. Kerkez knows that choosing between these two giants is more than just about money or prestige. It's about where he can grow, thrive, and establish himself as a first-choice player. As the battle unfolds, this transfer chase is shaping up to be one of the defining moves of the summer. With both Manchester City and Liverpool locked in, and neither side willing to step back, the future of Milos Kerkez is suddenly one of the hottest stories in English football. The question now isn't just who wants him more, but who can convince him where his future belongs. But Liverpool are not sitting back. With a new era taking shape at Anfield and the club pushing for a reinvention under evolving football leadership, they view Kerkez as an ideal piece of the puzzle. They see in him the kind of project player who can be developed into a world-class weapon over time. His energy, work ethic, and aggression align closely with Liverpool's high-octane style, and crucially, they believe he could challenge for a starting spot sooner rather than later. Kerkez's journey to this moment has not been typical. Rising quickly through the ranks, he has made a name for himself not with hype, but with consistent performances. He defends with bite, attacks with purpose, and never shies away from one-on-one duels. For many scouts, it's his ability to maintain composure in the defensive third while still having the confidence to carry the ball forward that makes him so valuable. The intensity of this battle goes beyond tactics and talent. Both Manchester City and Liverpool are at defining points. City, despite their continued domestic dominance, are aware that key players are aging, and the depth, especially in wide defensive positions, is vital if they are to sustain their level across all competitions. For Guardiola, adding a player like Kerkez now is about staying ahead of the curve, developing him within the system before other clubs can catch up. For Liverpool, it's about evolution. The club has relied heavily on key figures like Andrew Robertson in recent years, but with injuries and form dipping at times, the need for a fresh injection of youth and competition has become clear. And for Kerkez, this decision could define the next decade of his career.
Ruben Amorin stood alone on the touchline in Bilbao, arms folded, eyes locked on the pitch as the final whistle confirmed a bitter 1-0 defeat for Manchester United. It was supposed to be the moment that justified his appointment, the night he proved he could lead one of football's biggest clubs back to glory. Instead, it became a symbol of how far the team had fallen and of how uncertain his future had become. The loss in the Europa League final wasn't just another disappointment, it was the final blow in what many have now called Manchester United's worst season in over 5 decades. A club with a history rich in triumph, resilience and global prestige had been reduced to a shadow of its former self. And at the centre of that decline, whether fairly or not, stood Ruben Amorin. When Amorin was appointed, there was genuine optimism. He was seen as a forward-thinking coach with tactical clarity, the kind of manager who could bring structure, identity and discipline back to a dressing room that had been drifting for years. But those ideals were soon challenged by the unforgiving nature of top-tier football. The Premier League offered no breathing room, the players underperformed, results turned sour, and even in Europe, where progress seemed more consistent, the journey ended in heartbreak. In the final against Tottenham, Amorin made decisions that raised eyebrows. Key players were benched. The setup was cautious. The tempo was slow. The tactical plan, once praised for its clarity, appeared rigid and uninspired on the biggest night of the season. And when the goal came, scrappy, avoidable, and deeply frustrating, there was no meaningful response. No tactical shift, no surge of belief, just a quiet march toward another missed opportunity. But the criticism goes beyond one match. Throughout the season, questions have grown louder about Amorim's ability to adapt. His substitutions have often been too late, his starting lineups confusing, and his post-match explanations increasingly vague. The idea that he was building something long-term has started to feel more like an excuse than a strategy. Supporters, once hopeful, now ask the same question with increasing urgency. Is he the right man to lead this club forward? Behind the scenes, doubt is creeping in. The club's ownership is under pressure. The atmosphere around Carrington has become tense. And with the transfer window approaching, the future of several players hangs in limbo. Amid all this uncertainty, Amorin finds himself isolated. Still committed, still professional, but increasingly at odds with the results on the pitch and the expectations of it. The challenge he faces now is immense. Manchester United is a club where time is a luxury rarely afforded. The weight of history, the size of the fan base, and the glare of the global spotlight demand immediate progress. Patience wears thin quickly, especially after a season defined by inconsistency, poor league form, and a trophy that slipped away when it was within reach. Amorin can point to mitigating factors. The squad is not fully his. The injuries were disruptive. The structure above him remains a work in progress. But excuses no longer carry weight when performances falter so visibly. At this level, explanations are not enough. Only results matter. He now faces a defining summer. Either he convinces the club's hierarchy to trust him with a proper rebuild, one shaped by his vision, his philosophy and his players, or he becomes another name on the long list of managers who couldn't bring Manchester United back to where it belongs. He knows the reality. He knows the pressure. And he knows that even one more misstep could end his time at Old Trafford. The defeat in Bilbao didn't just cost the club a European trophy, it may have sealed the fate of the man chosen to lead its revival. And as the storm of criticism grows louder, Ruben Amorin must decide how he responds. Rebuild, regroup and prove he is worthy of the United job. Or accept that, in the brutal world of elite football, promises and potential mean nothing without silverware. Now, the spotlight is harsher than ever. The fans are no longer willing to wait. The badge on his chest carries a weight that breaks those who hesitate. Ruben Amorim's vision must now translate into victories. If not, history will forget the promise and remember only the failure. At Manchester United, survival is not about how a manager starts. It's about whether he can deliver when everything is on the line. And now, for Amorim, everything is on the line.